Hi guys, welcome back to another e-learning video. This video will be over just a bit of what we did last time and just sort of adding a couple little things to it. And then we'll go over a new transformation, f of k times x in the parentheses. So this is something I want to hit from last time and just make a little bit more clear. So we talked about this and we said that if k is greater than 1, for example, if it's 2, if it's greater than 1, and in this example it's 2, you can see that blue graph goes vertically more quickly than the original graph in black. So when it's moving vertically more quickly, that's called a vertical stretch. Okay, and then if it was k being between 0 and 1, it went up more slowly, it widened out, and that was a vertical shrink. And I want to put emphasis on the word vertical because this transformation is focused on what's happening vertically. So is it moving vertically more quickly or is it moving vertically more slowly? So let's look at it. If k is 2, we called that a stretch, and we called that a stretch because it's moving vertically more quickly. Stretch has to be associated with quicker for you guys. So a stretch is when something is happening more quickly. And let's say this was between 0 and 1, let's say it's 0.5, 5/10. Here's your original graph, and it widened out. This is a vertical shrink because it's going vertically more slowly. You have to associate the words shrink and slower. Okay? Let's look at this type of transformation. So here you have f of k times x, where k times x is in the parentheses this time. You can see k in the parentheses. This transformation is focused on what's happening horizontally. Okay, this is focused on horizontally. So this one was vertical focused, this one's horizontal focused. So let's try out k is 2 for this transformation. So you can see that here's your black graph, that's the original one, and here's your green equations graph, that's the new one after the transformation. So it looks like it's going up quicker, it's going vertically quicker, but that's not the focus. We're focused on what's happening horizontally for this transformation. And I can tell that it's going horizontally more slowly now than it was before. So this is a horizontal shrink because it's not going horizontally as fast as it was before. It's going horizontally more slowly. So when k is greater than 1 for this transformation, it's called a horizontal shrink. And if k is between 0 and 1 for this transformation, it's called a horizontal stretch because it's going horizontally more quickly. Okay, that's a difficult thing to understand. And I know that, so I've made some tables for you guys to go ahead and use. I'll go through everything we've talked about so far. F of x and then plus k outside the parentheses. If it's a positive, shift up. If it's a negative or subtracting, essentially, shift down. If it's f of x plus k in the parentheses, if it's positive, shift left. If it's negative or subtracting, shift right. Okay, and then here's the multiplication ones. If it's k times f of x, where k is on the outside here, if k is greater than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If k is between 0 and 1, it's a vertical shrink. And I put the word vertical in there just to make it as clear as possible about what we're focused on for this transformation. And if it's a negative number, it reflects over the x-axis for this one. And if it's a negative number that happens to be less than -1, it's a vertical stretch and that reflection because it's negative. If it's between -1 and 0, it's a vertical shrink and that reflection over the x-axis. Okay, well, what about this transformation? This is the one we just talked about. So if it's f of k times x in the parentheses, if k is greater than 1, that's a horizontal shrink because it's going horizontally more slowly. And if it's k between 0 and 1, that's a horizontal stretch because it's going horizontally more quickly. And this is something, just a side note, some people call shrinks compresses. A shrink is compressed to some people. And you can see that in this chart here below. We'll talk about that in a second. So it's a negative number for this transformation, you reflect over the y-axis. And if it's between -1 and 0, it's a horizontal stretch, and you reflect over the y-axis as well. So if it's a negative for this, we're reflecting over the y-axis, and it's going horizontally more slowly, so it's a shrink for this, and it's going horizontally more quickly for this, it's called a stretch. I've put all of that sort of condensed. This is a table you could use. It just kind of condenses all the information down. So plus, up, minus, down, inside the parentheses, plus, left, inside the parentheses, minus, right. If it's a negative outside, reflect over the x-axis. If it's a negative inside, reflect over the y-axis. If it's multiplying outside, here are the rules. Stretch if it's absolute value greater than 1. If it's multiplying outside, and it's between 0 and 1 for the absolute value, the number you're multiplying, then it's a vertical compression or shrink. It's also called compression in this table, but it's a shrink as well. We can also call it that. If you're multiplying inside the parentheses with your k value or b value, whatever letter you're using, if you're multiplying inside the parentheses for the transformation, it's a horizontal shrink / compression. If its absolute value is greater than 1, and it's a stretch if the absolute value is between 0 and 1. So this is difficult to understand, but just take down all the information you can, use your notes best you can to try to get through this and answer the questions. It's difficult to sort of memorize right at first, but eventually you'll get it. And then we actually have the rules for the points on how the points would change on the graph right here. So this is an example. If you had a point that was 5, 3, and it was a transformation of +3, you would have 5, and then it'd be 3 plus 3 would be 6, so 5, 6. You're going to take whatever your y value is, and you're going to either plus it for this one or subtract it for this one. So add for those, subtract for those, and it's only dealing with the y part of the points. And I'm not testing over this, it's just going over it. And these are transformations for points on these types of graphs. So this would move the horizontal translations obviously deal with x, so it's going to do pluses, you're going to actually subtract, it does the opposite, remember? And then in the minus, you're going to plus, it does the opposite. Reflections, you change negative for the y, reflection inside the parentheses, change the negative for the x. And then if you have a times f of x on the outside, you multiply that number times your y. If you have f times a number on the inside, then you're going to divide by that on the x value. This is all in a chart because it's a lot of information. So it's all condensed down right here. This part you're not being tested over. You don't need to memorize this, but it's on there for you. This part I've made into our own little notes up here on these tables. These tables are probably going to be the most helpful for you. Okay, and I will try to do as much explaining during the next live time as I can, but that is everything I have for you over the transformations. This review of k times f of x and your new transformation today, f of k times x in the parentheses. If you have any questions, please email me or ask me during live time.